too. I had a girlfriend, and I was not supposed to see her because in Venezuela you have to ask permission, the chaperone, and we were too young. So when I came from school, there was a row of these leaves. See how the hole there? And to let her know that I was approaching her house, I would pick one of these flowers and put it over here like this, and create a, like a pop gun, like a zip gun, and then I would like that, and then she could hear me approaching, whether I was going or I was going away, coming or going away. And then she would get dressed in certain outfits that she had, and then she would tell me, she would open the window, she would tell me where she was going to be. So it's like a CIA kind of thing for us to see each other, so we had these certain spots that she would wear this sweater or that blouse or this thing like that. And this is how I let her know that I was coming. That was it was a great love affair, so. And coincidentally, we would meet at a park with different entrances, just like this one, because the Museum of Modern Art in Venezuela, the guy who designed it, in order to refresh it, because in those days there was no air conditioning, there was, he put this huge park with big trees and like this, just like this, in front of it to refresh the air. And then the entrance of it was like this. This is the park, and the air was coming in this direction, and then it would circulate throughout the whole entire, and cool itself naturally. So I come from people who use nature to do, without air conditionings and central thing and this and that, it's just, and as I will tell you later, just a stick became a golf club, a javelin, a rifle, so many different things that just one single stick would be my toys, because I didn't have any other toys but rocks and mud and, and strings and things like that. So that was my beginning. And when I see the destruction of nature, I see it as an affront to my source of inspiration. And lately I have been very depressed because of what is happening in the Amazons and what is happening in the North Pole and Alaska, everything, And there is nothing I can do except create things like this, and hopefully it will stay, and we can tell other people the messages that I am trying to convey with my art and the things that I create. And now, you.
What do you think of what's happening with the environment?
It's depressing. It's depressing because we live in a society that puts more, they think it is more important, the economy is more important than than nature, than the environment. So it's a money-theistic society. Money is the important thing. People work in asbestos factories to make a living. That's ridiculous. Or they are trying to open up now coal mines. And every time that I hear it, it's like Alaska, because of the methane gas, that all those trees that through the ages have been dying is creating that gas that is fueling the fire. So the fire is coming from the earth up, and the Amazon. This guy just to get ethanol or to do feed cows and things like that, and they are decimating the whole thing, And I come from a very close to Indians region where my mother, if I had a headache or something like that, she would go to the garden and pick up some herbs and things like that, and she would boil them and then give me cacao, which I hated, and then she would just make me drink this thing. But I was cured, she accused me from asthma, the bronchial infection that I had. But through her medications, we grew cafe, we grew, mangoes, and oranges, limes, everything was in our backyard. And we share it with everybody else. It was just like, this is my garden and you cannot have anything, Anybody that needed a couple of something, they would just come in and pick it up. And of course I would ask. But, and what is happening in the world right now, everything, can you imagine the polar, the North Pole is defrosting, and there are people already there with big ships, and they are shooting the icebergs to create those holes in it as if they were sewing it, and then the thing would just collapse because of those holes. And then they have already a bottle company in one of these enormous ships, and they are bottling that water. They all think that everything has a monetary value. And one of the things that I just became as successful or known is because I don't have a price. I don't sell my work thanks to my wife Joanne, who has supported me since 1972. And all I have been doing is cleaning beaches and making presentations in the Natural Museum of Venezuela and the National Gallery, where I would clean a whole entire beach. And then, unbeknownst to them, I would throw it in the entrance of the thing. And when the police came, because they called it, I made a mess out of their beautiful, pristine grass. I would say to the police, look, you have 2 ways to go. You arrest me, and then you're going to have to clean up this mess. But if you let me give these people that have congregated over here my message, what I have to tell them, while I am doing that, I'll be cleaning this area, that you will not even find a blade of grass that it doesn't belong there. So which one was going to do? And they put him in this kind of a conundrum, like they said, well, all right, just do it, but make sure you leave this place clean. So then that was it. Against the oils of Venezuela, I created a big, I took a bunch of fishermen, because one of the biggest lakes in Venezuela is called Lake Maracaibo. And I heard from here in New York City that there was a big spill of oil long before Chavez, and that a ship landed on its sides. It ran aground and it was spewing all this oil. So I went to Venezuela with a gigantic canvas, and I got all the fishermen, and I bought all the beers. In those days, the exchange was incredible, that they could, drink. And then I got a beach ball, and I put her like a neck around a big pristine canvas, and I dragged it with all this caravan of fishermen that were mad at the government for what they were doing. And when we came back, the canvas was impregnated with oil that was like black. And all this is documented. And then when I took the tie that I had around the snake, it became like a tie-dye, because the ball in the middle was impregnated with it, but the wrinkles around its neck became like the rays of the sun. So I call that movement an eclipse, because it was the energy of the sun was going to pretty soon go away because of the thing that we were doing, And Then it was an oil painting created with black. It was a still life. An oil painting created with black waters from Lake Maracaibo. Now, black waters in architecture in Venezuela is a sewer water. You know. Then the oil is the oil, you know, it's created with oil from Venezuela, the oil painting. And the still life, or in Venezuela, you know, is dead nature. You know, it's which is the same thing in English. But in painting, when you paint dead animals and something like that, they call it nature mort, which is in Italian. You know. So I went to the National Art Gallery, and I put it in front of the entrance with rocks so it wouldn't fall. And the sun of Venezuela was baking this oil. And remember I told you that the architect would put this all these plants, you know, trees and stuff like that, so that the air would refresh itself, and then the center part of the whatever was the National Art Gallery would receive all that fresh air. But since I put in between this carpet filled with oil, the the sun was burning it, and people were getting literally sick, because it was like around 12 o'clock when people went to lunch, and that got the police, secret police, to come over to me, and they told me that I was embarrassing the country, because they already knew me. I had been so many times already doing these things against the destruction of the environment. And they said to me, you know, you already live in New York, why don't you stay over there, leave us alone over here, because we have ways of doing things over here that you might not agree with. So the friends of mine from the press that I had called previously there, that were recording the whole entire thing, they said, do you know these guys? And I said, no, I don't know. What did they tell you? They told me to stop because I was embarrassed. I said, well, I tell you, if you don't pay attention to what they are saying, because they are not giving you advice, they are telling you to stop. And if you don't listen to what they are saying, or you don't understand what they're saying, then you're going to be in trouble. So I never went back.
All right, I want you to count in your mind to 15. We okay? Mm-hmm. Count in your mind to 15 seconds. Mm-hmm. And just reflect back on life as an artist.
Life as an artist?
Yeah, just don't talk. Just reflect back in your mind.
Oh, you mean like...
just silently count for 15 seconds. Don't look at the camera. And just think back about your life as an artist.
Looking at you?
No, not looking at me. What came to your mind?
Well, being alone in my fight against the contamination of the and trying to tell people this, and you become some sort of angel of doom. So it has been very hard, an arduous thing.